So I deviated from my plan a little bit, which probably wasn't a good idea. But basically, the last slots are like, I was like, okay, I'll have two quenches in inside out all the artist talents and just be more defensive. Try and play towards Raoul a little bit more, and maybe my monuments in a way. Um, and yeah, but maybe I got influenced by game one because our artist talent was really good in that game one, and maybe I was thinking, oh, I'm signing out all my storm chasers, so I'm getting kind of low on threats, and I'm like, their deck is kind of slow, so maybe I could just cast my artist talent, and I don't need to be too reactive. And I was getting kind of tripped up on quench because basically the a strong play with quench is it can interrupt their daydreams, but it doesn't do it reliably on the draw because if they have a springleaf drum, they can daydream as early as turn two, or if they have a turn one Momo and they untap, then they can again daydream on turn two, and then my quench doesn't stop it. But if they don't have one of those cards in play, then they can't do the daydream play until turn three, and it's like pretty good to stop them daydreaming their big flyer. Obviously, it can be pretty hard to deal with, a Riddler if they daydreamed, and obviously it's also good against the warp cards on the backside because if they ever go to hardcast it, obviously quenching that is a really strong play. And if they play more cards like Cosmic Grand Zenith, then you can sometimes, even though it seems kind of awkward against like cards like Sage of the Skies and stuff like that, sometimes you can hit a Cosmic Grand or a Halia or stuff like that. So it might not be completely useless and it's a lesson. But I was thinking maybe I got influenced last round because my quench was pretty badly and my artist helm was just good. So I did this, and like having two boomerangs seem reasonable. You could have more, but I don't hate the idea of having quench because even if they play a Riddler, it could be awkward to bounce it sometimes. But whatever. So yeah, I see this hand. I think it's a fine keep. It has Grand and a 2-drop. But obviously this is the kind of hand where now you can see artist talent looks pretty bad because I have so many win cons. And if I drew an artist talent, it would be, pretty bad. Like I just want anything to interact to get to my Ral. So yeah, they go for turn 2 Daydream Riddler. So yeah, here, I mean, obviously Boomerang would be very good here. So, that's another thing to keep in mind, I guess. And maybe you could trim like one monument. If you're like trimming all the artist talents on the draw, I guess that's something I could have considered more. Maybe you run into problems where you could deck yourself, but anyway, I'll focus on the game. So, I mean, yeah, I just passed with abandon up, sure. Makes sense. And they go for another Warped Riddler. I mean, there wasn't much I could have done. I'm pretty sure Ral's pretty good in the matchup, especially they play like a lot of Rest in Peace and Seam Rips and Disenchants, and I'm pretty sure like maybe I could trim a monument and it could have been a boomerang, but otherwise, yeah, not too much I could do. They have another Daydream. I abandon. And okay, let's keep going. Yeah, here was interesting. I mean, my out seemed extremely slim, but I thought my out might be like monument, make a treasure, find a boomerang this, but then and then I hope that they don't like have a second flyer to trigger the Momo because then it becomes 8 power. I don't know. Obviously my outs are like extremely slim. Maybe it was better to like not play the monument, but since I was so behind, I'm like maybe I need to somehow get this going. And yeah, you could see the artist talent wasn't very good. Like if it was a boomerang, then I could have boomeranged that attacker, maybe find another boomerang for that, maybe stabilize the board. So yeah, maybe anyway. So yeah, so this happens. Or like if I had the boomerang, the quench in hand, I could have quenched the second Daydream thing. And here it's pretty over. I'm literally just dead on board. So yeah, that's a good definition of over. And then game 3. It's easier to sideboard on the play because I can just bring in all my quenches pretty easily. And I brought out my Spell Pierces, which I brought in. And I have all the artist talents in over this kind of Spell Pierces basically. And I don't have as many boomerangs in. Pretty easy mulligan. Okay, yeah, this is a very interesting what to bottom here once again, because since my curve is low, like all my spells are castable, and I think the choices are between a land, like a wisdom, and like maybe an artist talent. I think those are like the 3 cards I would consider. I don't think you want to bottom Slagstorm. So yeah, I guess we can get into it. So like one of the downsides of this artist talent is if they have a seam rip, that could be kind of awkward for me. It goes back to what I said in like the other video, which maybe I guess I'll upload after this, where it's like this deck really wants to, when you play, like it's a land heuristic. Like when you play a deck with 22 lands and you mulligan to 6, like generally it would make sense that you have 2 lands and 4 spells, because by the fact you play 22 lands, you're like, oh, you kind of don't want, you wouldn't want a 50% lands, 50% spell thing. But you also have this intuition where you're like, oh, I don't want to miss my third land, so I'll keep my third land because it's pretty bad to miss it. And especially if you have like a higher curve, like you have like 3-drops and stuff, then it could make missing the land more punishing. But it goes into this thing that like you're playing a 22 land deck. That means your curve is really low. So like if you're not drawing lands, you're drawing spells, and you can cast almost every spell in your deck. And like this card's pretty good at finding lands and whatever. So I'm pretty sure I ended up bottoming the Artist Talent, because I was like, okay, I can play the first. I was like, I'm gonna play towards Ral. Like this is where I was like, I have 6 looks at Ral because I'm like, I could bottom Artist Talent and then I can Wisdom. I'm gonna have like a lot of looks at Ral, and if I Wisdom again, that's a lot of looks at Ral, and basically, and then that makes keeping the hand in Slag Storm, and that way it doesn't play into their Seam Rip. But so I think that's like reasonable, but there are problems with that. Like casting Anticipate on turn 2 is not great, and then like I'm just anticipating twice, and I'm not really pressuring them with the Slag Storm. So I don't know. I don't hate the idea of like bottoming the land, because the thing is, if I'm in a world where I'm gonna miss my 3rd land drop, so I play my first land, then it's my 2nd turn, I draw a card. It's my 3rd turn, I draw 2 cards. So it's like, if I miss my 3rd land, that means I'm drawing 2 spells. And like drawing spells is pretty good with the Wisdoms and whatever, and the fact I'm a low land count deck. But yeah, I bottom the Artist Talent, which I think it could make sense to bottom the other stuff. And like this might be just too conservative, because I'm just falling behind in the sense that I'm just casting Anticipates. And yeah, drawing a land's like extremely punishing here, because if I don't find a Ral, it's going to be really awkward. And like now finding a monument's like a lot worse and whatever. So they play around. They don't get a Pixie, they just get a Momo. So that was kind of lucky for me. So yeah, and now it's kind of awkward because I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure this Artist Talent's the best card, but now my curve's all fucked up because I didn't just play it on turn 2. So I take it. And honestly, I think I just play the Artist Talent, but it's tough because since I draw 2 lands in a row, like the Rummage is so high value. But if I Wisdom, like I could set up a turn where like I like Wisdom, where like I get the Rummage basically. So maybe I should have done that. It looks like I'm just slamming the Artist Talent here. That's probably Malding, but I'm not 100% sure that's better than playing the Wisdom. But yeah, the Wisdom's kind of awkward here because it's literally just an Anticipate, and like I'm not using my 3rd mana, and like my next turn's like kind of awkward. But yeah, so anyway, now this happens. They go for Cosmic Rain. I remember I was Giga Malding here. Everyone can say how unlucky I am. And yeah, I just Wisdomed. I guess I could have activated Agnicala as not an insane play. Why did I Wisdom? This is interesting. This is interesting. Oh, because I can find Combustion Technique, obviously. Yeah, so that's why I did this. And I do find Combustion, so it works out. Yeah. So yeah, they do that. They draw Momo. And they do this. And they just hardcast the Shepherd, sure. And yeah, I draw an Artist Talent, so pretty lucky draw. And I'm thinking it makes sense to wipe the board here. I don't think it's a bad play, yeah. Like, there is an argument to, like, just leveling, but then it's, like, really bad if they have another Seam Rip. And they could just, like, hardcast the Riddler, and then that's, like, pretty bad for me, too. So I thought this was fine to, like, play around the Riddler or, like, another Seam Rip. But I'm kind of low on cards because, like, I've mulliganed, I guess, and I don't know. I've just not been efficient. And then, yeah, they do this, and it's, like, pretty bad for me. Well, it's not that bad yet. So I draw a Grand, and I probably just loot with the Agnicala. I guess I was thinking about main phasing it, but then I thought there was like nothing I would cast. Oh yeah, and I have the discount, so yeah, so this makes sense. So it just passes mana up. I think this was reasonable. They Seam Rip the Artist Talent. They, yeah, take the Sage back, and it's kind of awkward. The problem here is I'm just not casting spells. Like, if I cast a Ral, it would have been so good or anything. But I'm just activating my Agnicala, which is a horrendous play. Find a land. It's bad. Draw a Broadside Barrage. So I just cast it here. I didn't want to attack to look for a Slag Storm because I thought, like, I can just find a Wisdom. Like, I don't need to go all in right now. I can just, like, find a Monument here maybe. So yeah, I hit that. See a Combustion. But it's kind of awkward because I just have no cards. Like, I'm getting 2-for-1'd out by these Sages because I'm using point and click removal on them. I found a Monument. The reason I discarded it was I thought that like my out was to find an Accumulate Wisdom here, because if I keep the Monument, I just die very quickly. Like, they only have 2 cards in hand. I mean, I guess they have this Halia coming, but also it keeps my Grand alive. And yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna try and find accumulate wisdom and win through that, because like if I play the monument, they're just gonna eat my Grand. So I think this is like pretty reasonable. Then it's their turn, because they don't actually have that much pressure now. Like, it's very realistic. I could win from here. I just need to find accumulate, but yeah, I hit a land. And yeah, I did attack first because it makes firebending a better out, basically. But also, like, I felt like my top card basically has to be wisdom anyway, and I'd rather have wisdom and 4 mana up than loot into wisdom. I don't know. That could have been wrong, but whatever. It's what I did. Guess it kind of works out. But yeah, you can see it's a bit awkward because they keep 2-for-1ing me with their guys, and my turns are like bad. And yeah, they do another stage. It's like, okay, now I really need the second Slag Storm. But kind of the problem with the game is I just like didn't have good plays on a lot of turns. Like, I was just not using my mana to do anything. You know, it's not that like their stage plan is like so good against me. Like, I didn't find a wisdom, and I was just, all right, well, I did in the wrong order, right? Which was another problem with the double wisdom. And like, that can be one problem is, yeah, the double wisdom. Like, you cycle them both, and then you anticipate it twice, but you're also even further from the wisdoms. Anyway, so yeah, this was this loss. I was Giga Malding. I remember this was, I think, probably the 3rd loss in a row. I think I started 4-0, now it's 4-3. And yeah, I ended up winning the last 2 rounds, so it's 6-3. But you can see these close decisions really mattered. Like, this game was definitely potentially winnable. Like, maybe if I had like an extra boomerang or quench-in last game, you know, maybe it would have made a difference. But yeah, the last game was pretty hard to win. This game was definitely more winnable, and it was the mulligan decision. You can see, like, it was kind of, it's not like it was horrible that I kept the 3rd land, but you can definitely see, like, the fact, like, it might sound weird to be like, oh, this is a 22 land deck, so that means you'd rather have 2 lands. But you can see how punishing it was that I drew a couple lands. And obviously, it wasn't like I didn't do it recklessly. Like, I was like, oh, I'm playing towards Ral because Ral's a 4-drop in my deck. Well, like, yeah, if it was game 1, then it would be a lot easier to be like, oh, I don't really need the extra lands as much. I'm just trying to spam as many spells. So maybe I got baited by my own Ral trying to play towards it. And yeah, you could see how the fact that I tried to go for the keeping the land really backfired, obviously, because I just drew 2 lands in a row, and then it was, you know, horrendous, obviously. So yeah, that was kind of a takeaway of my game, just keeping in mind the tension of those spots and being really thinking of how the game's going to develop. I mean, it was a hard spot because I really didn't want to bottom a wisdom, and I really didn't want to bottom a Slag Storm. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just bottom the Artist Talent, and the timing on the Artist Talent's like a little bit awkward, because if I play it, as I said, they could Seam Rep it, and like maybe on my turn 3 is awkward, because if I don't draw a land, I have to Wisdom to cycle. But again, maybe that's fine, because if I'm not drawing a land, I'm drawing a bunch of lessons, and then maybe I can get the Accumulate Wisdom online. And even if they play Rest in Peace, at least their own Rest in Peace is slowing them down, right? Because obviously Rest in Peace could stop the Wisdoms, but then I'm forcing them to cast Rest in Peace, right? So yeah, I don't think it was like a horrible play, but obviously you could see the way that it unveiled in a way that I got extremely punished by drawing 2 lands, so yeah.